going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And if everybody would join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I need to approve the minutes of the prior board meeting. And board members, you've had a chance to look over this and make sure everything's correct. Did anyone have anything to add or comment on as far as the meeting go, or minutes go? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Bowers.
A second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the minutes of the prior board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. Next, we need to approve our agenda. Is there any additions that we need to make to the agenda tonight? If not, I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Johar.
A second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And recognitions. Ms. Embry.
Good evening, board members and guests. This evening's board recognition goes to each of you board members. As you know, January is officially Board Recognition Month, so I want to take this time to thank you for the work that you do for Muhlenberg County School System. Thank you for your dedication in carrying out responsibilities for the benefit of and in the interest of our students, our faculty and staff, and our community. Each of you carries the responsibility of functioning effectively as a team in each of the following areas according to the Kentucky School Boards Association: building school district leadership, providing fiscal oversight, managing district policies, advocating for public education, and fostering board team effectiveness. As a small token of our appreciation, you each have been given a survival kit filled with goodies to help you thrive and even survive as a board member. Thank you for your service to the Muhlenberg County School District. I'd like to take a picture of you all if you don't mind.
Should we gather you? Come on, get close. Don't be afraid.
Well, I've got the power cord here.
Okay, thank you. One, two. Take another one. One, two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla.
Yes, thank you.
I'd just like to ask that everyone thank our board members for round of applause.
Thanks, Carla. We're down to the treasurer's report. Mr. Blutzinger.
Thank you, Chairman. Bringing the revenues as of December 31st, 2017. Right now, the beginning balance is at $17.9 million. This is out about $2.7 million, which is a direct result of property taxes we received in November. Revenues are about $3.4 million. These are down about $3 million from last month, which is also pretty much a direct result from the property taxes. So the total monthly receipts and revenues are about $21.3 million. Expenditures this month, accounts payable is at $672,000. This is down about $46,000 from the same period last year, December of last year. But the significant bills this this month, or excuse me, in December, were about $100,000 paid to Bluegrass International Trucks for the special education bus. Payroll's at $2.8 million, which is up about $200,000. And overall expenses are up about $200,000 from the previous same time. Payroll breakdown, about gross pay was $2.399 million. And employee deductions were $829,000. Net pay of about $1.5 million. Taxes were $441,000. $290,000 KTRS. The CERS was not transferred at the time. And insurance was $86,000. And other expenses were $177,000 for $2.567. Accounts payable breakdown. Our fixed mixed expenses were about $483,000, for about almost 70% of the total expenses. Utilities expense is about $112,000, which they're averaging about that every month, so we're kind of keeping right on line with them. That's about 16%. Variable expenses are only accounting for about 15% of the overall expenses at $105,000. So the accounts payable breakdown, again, total accounts payable was $702,000. General fund paid $532,000 of that. Special revenue was $37,000. Debt service was $500, which was just a maintenance payment that we make. And then food service / daycare expenses were $132,000. For the ledger balance to close the month was about $17.85. The bank balance of $9.865 million, with the investment of about $8.5 million. Outstanding checks were $570,000, which left the cash close about $9.29 million. Breakdown of that balance: $8.6 million was the general fund, which is down about $3,000 from the previous month, so we're kind of maintaining there. That's a good thing. Special revenues at negative amount, that's down $115,000. That's purely a timing issue. Construction remains at $1 million. Debt service, that's negative $621,000, which is down $500,000. Reflects the payment that was made. Food service is up about $31,000. Daycare is down about $3,500, and the rest remain the same. So overall balance is down about $90,000. Extended financial picture. In May of 18, we expect to have a bank balance of about $13.3 million. And really some of the financial good news this month, we got W-2s and 1099s. They're already complete, which I'm really excited about, because usually, we have until January 31st to get those out. I've distributed those even tonight. And the other exciting thing is that, at least in my world, is I've got the 1095s, the Affordable Care Act forms. They're already started. And I hope to have those out before January 31st, which is kind of dependent upon the state. If they get me all my information that I need, I can start rolling with that, and that way everyone will have them for W-2 time. And the deadline for that is March 31st, so we'll have it well in advance. So I'm really excited about that. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Eric regarding the treasury report? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Johar, second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I hear none. Payment of bills and salaries.
Thank you again, Chairman Rager. This month I bring $338,000 to you in board bills. Of that, $222,000 is general fund, $81,000, almost $82,000 is debt service. So those are some of the significant items. Of those, the other significant checks, other than the debt service, are about $20,000 in textbook purchases. Those are done with Fund $2, so those are grant dollars.
All right, any questions? If not, I need a motion to pay our bills and salaries.
I make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor of paying bills and salaries, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And payment of school bills. All
looked them over.
Oh, you're fine.
There's
Okay.
nothing significant that I've seen.
Any questions regarding the payment of school bills? If not, I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Delmar,
A second.
second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of paying school bills, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And public participation, we don't have any tonight, so we will move down to administrative report with the superintendent report, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chairman Rager, board members. I want to start by reiterating what Carla said earlier, Board Appreciation Month. I guess every month should be that, but we appreciate what you do. I know it's a thankless job, and there's a lot of, I'm sure you get a lot of phone calls and a lot of questions, and I appreciate you personally. I appreciate you as well, your support. Anything I've needed and talked to you about, you've been there for me and for the kids. So, having said that, she's already said it once, but I want to tell you again, we do appreciate you. I know it's, again, a thankless job.
Thank you.
A few other folks I want to give a little bit of extra love tonight because of this cold weather. Our maintenance guys have gone above and above and above and beyond to try to get the parking lots clear, things fixed in the school. Everything is one thing after another with this weather, and they have gone above and beyond. They've worked. They've been last Saturday trying to get. Well, we were hoping for school on Monday or Tuesday. Obviously, that did not work out. But they have just done a tremendous job. Our bus garage folks, Kim and Tim and all the folks out there running the roads at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning and just keeping those buses going during this kind of weather. Obviously, our bus drivers, we talked about that before, our custodians at each school. We were hoping to have a work day tomorrow, and I just deemed it just not quite be ready. The back roads are in such bad shape. But they were working on sidewalks and shoveling, and it's just, so there's a lot of extra work during this kind of weather that I want to recognize those folks. And our Frisky coordinators, a lot of kids without now. And I'm very proud of our folks. I've had more than one teacher. Actually, some just parents have called and said, I've got a four-wheel drive. What do you need? Where do you need me to go? And firewood has been delivered, food's been delivered, a lot of things like that, because we just care about the kids, and a lot of folks do. So there's a lot of thanks to go out to a lot of folks, and I just want to take a second to say that. Now back to my standards. I need to cover one each month, so it's standard 4. I'm going to talk just a little bit about human resource leadership, which is basically how are we bettering our folks and how are we best using our folks to help our kids. And a few things we've done is we have a scheduled Kagan training for all middle and high school math teachers we're very, very excited about coming up. Julie, is that March?
March 12th.
They're going to enjoy this, and it's going to help make them even better than they already are. So that's going to benefit them and the kids. We do have ongoing training for new staff members as they come in. They meet here. They've already been here, I think, twice, and they'll be back again. Leadership Challenge is something that we're all going through, all the principals. I'm going through it. I think maybe some of you had to answer some questions about that, as well as our supervisors here at the board. So that's something we're doing together to try to get better ourselves. I've met with each principal about the TEL survey data and their test scores and talking about what we can do better there. The evaluations, I'm doing the evaluations of the principals and their growth plans, so I'm working with them on that individually. We're working on setting up an Aspiring Leader program, which I'm kind of excited about. Aspiring administrators in our county, kind of been in contact with some folks about the funding, and it's in the process where we're going to try to take some of our folks that are interested in going into administration and start working with them, start getting them some training and having them ready to step in when someone else leaves. So we're doing that. And the mentor program is something that's pretty dear to my heart. I know how big a deal that is to our kids, and that's a lot of community folks are involved with that. So there's human resources from outside the school system. So those are a few things that I'm trying to do to meet standard 4. And when we get to staffing and all that's coming in a few months, that'll fall under that as well. I want to take a second to talk about what's going on in Frankfort. And as you know, the General Assembly is meeting now, and the governor did release a proposed budget, I think, maybe 2 nights ago. There's some things that jump out at you, and the biggest one is the transportation, the cut in transportation, which I think was a 62%, if I understood that right. That would cost us, by the numbers we think we're understanding, a little over $200 a student And so that number to us is going to be about $1 million if that goes through. The CERS contribution, that it's in the works, it hasn't gone through yet, as I understand it fully. But I've been saying that for months. If it does indeed happen, and that contribution goes from 1918, I think, to up to 28 something, that would mean about 700,000. So it's not time to panic, because it may very well not go through like this. But it is a time to be concerned. I'm just trying to keep you on top of it and our folks on top of it. And I'm trying to better understand it. So over the next few days, as we break it down more, I'll be communicating that with you guys and with our folks out in all our staffs as well. So the pension issue, it's still there, separate from the budget in a sense. But I do believe there are 3 of the pension plan proposals being scored now, and we'll, see how it's supposed to affect us long term and all this. And then when that drops, and I think that'll likely be next week, then we'll see where we're at. And if worst case scenario is not a good case, I've communicated that to you guys before. I'm pretty confident that won't be as bad either. I've been in contact with Representative Prunty, Senator Embry, and so I think we're okay now on that. But again, it's a concern. So there's a lot of things going on in Frankfort that we're being watchful on, and I will communicate that to you as I get information. You'll know information, but the next 2 weeks we'll know more what's going on, because I think it's over at the end of January. So we'll know more soon. Again, I don't want everybody to panic, because worst case scenario, yes, it's pretty grim. But I just don't, I'm hopeful that that's not what's going to finally go through. We had a lunchroom audit a month or 2 ago, been maybe 2 months now, just completing, got the report back. And I've asked Joe Cooper if she would to take just a couple of minutes and tell us how that went, because we're pretty happy with how that went.
This was my first audit, so it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but they found 5 findings, and they've already been corrected, and it's already been closed. The findings that they found, I'm sorry, I can't talk tonight. The findings that they found were they had updated the civil rights poster, and I did not have those updated in the schools, so that was a finding. Since then, I've done that. Since we do not do summer feeding in our schools, it is my responsibility to put on our website of different churches and places in the county that do have a summer feeding program. I was unaware of that. That has been corrected. That will be done. The other thing was our HACCP plan. We had our HACCP plan. Everything was correct, but I did not have it in a binder. So that has been corrected. And at Central City Elementary, I was 1/4 of a cup short on one student's mashed potatoes. So that's
Did you
what they
correct
got.
that?
But anyway, everything has been corrected. I'm serious, yes. But everything has been corrected, and hopefully when they come back in 3 years, I'll have enough mashed potatoes. Any questions?
Now, Joe, this was primarily Central City Elementary and West.
Yes. Central City was the target school because they have a after-school snack program. So they did. They went, and I'm going to tell you all, and Mr. Davis met with the reviewer. He complimented our schools. He could say that he could tell that the lunchroom staff loved the kids. He could tell that nothing was fake and they knew what to do, and I really do appreciate it. And it was a lot of work, and I appreciate my staff. But if you all have any questions, if you'd like to see what was corrected, I have all that, and you're welcome to it at any time.
Do they have to come back?
Every 3 years.
So, but they don't come back to say
No,
that
because
you
I corrected it, and
that day?
Yeah,
or
no, not that day. It took about,
Well, not the.
took about 3 weeks.
3 weeks. But they don't come back in the 3 weeks.
No. Now, if it had been some really bad findings, like money
Or
or
half
something
a
like
cup
that,
instead of 1/4 a cup.
I've been a half a cup short maybe, but no, I just had to give them a written plan of what I was going to do to correct all these problems. And everything has been corrected, so.
Doing a better job than restaurants do. There's 15 findings.
Oh, and also, every one of our schools has always got an A from the health department, always. Any questions?
Well, summer feeding, are we ever interested in changing that?
We've tried that several times, but because we're so rural, we don't have the children to come to the areas. So the churches, they actually deliver them. And so, and all of our kids are taken care of. But I mean, that's something that we can look into, but we've tried it several times and it's never worked because of the way that our county's laid out. If we were in a city, an inner city, you know, it'd be better, but we've tried it at Longest, we've tried it at Greenville, we've tried it at Central City, and I think we've tried it at South Elementary, and it just doesn't work. But I'm always open, because I want to feed kids.
I have two that you can feed anytime. Because I fed them the last week and I need to go to the grocery again. So.
Yeah. Boy,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Joe's to be commended. She lost a night shift or two, I think, over this. And the staffs at Central City, in particular, and West as well, to be commended because they're under the gun. They're being watched on everything. So they did exceptionally well. I'm proud of them. Well, now's the time we have our principals in, and Steve had a good idea that we're going to allow assistant principals at times, and once either this month or next month to come in, and maybe give the principals a night off and let the assistant principals get a chance to. They won't look at it as a chance, I'm sure, but give them a little time to get up and do this and grow. So we're going to start with our principals at this time, and I do believe this month Mr. Sharp is here for Bremen.
At Bremen Elementary, before all the snow hit, we were doing a lot of school-wide writing scrimmages, working on our TCT, which is the science, through course task that we have to do. Really proud of our grade levels for working together, grade level meetings, and they're really analyzing student work to kind of make sure to change their instruction to make sure they're giving the best instruction for our students. We have a leadership team, and I'm really proud of them. Give a shout out to them. It's a one representative from each grade level and each content area. And this group really helps me build consistency among grade levels, consistency among the school for procedures and things like that. And if I have a problem, and I can go to them, and we have more, two heads are better than one, and they can help me out with it, so that kind of stuff. Shout out to Aaron Randolph. She's my family resource coordinator. She's just great. She cares so much about our kids, and she works tirelessly to really meet their needs. In fact, today she came in and had me make an all-call. She's like, I think you could make an all-call for just individual people. And she helped me, and she stretched my comfort zone. We found out how to do it. So big shout out to her. And then a shout out to our school, our community. We had a family that had a house fire, the Johnson family, and I'm just so proud of our school, our community. Came together, really helped those people out, and it's just really special when people work together and help somebody who really needs it out. So that's all I have tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Ms. Higgs, Central City.
Just want to start with giving another shout out. I think last month when we met, we were getting ready for our 4th and 5th grade Christmas plays, and it was the night of the board meeting. They did an outstanding job. They did 2 plays. 4th grade presented Santa's Holiday Playlist, and the 5th grade did A Pirate's Christmas. The scenery for A Pirate's Christmas was very elaborate, and they pulled it off. And big shout out goes to our Arts and Humanities staff and the Felix Martin staff. And we had many volunteers to move our ship that night, and appreciate all those who helped make that possible. I also want to recognize and congratulate Michelle Arnold. She's my library media specialist. She recently passed the Google Certified Educator Level 1 exam, and I'm very proud of her. And then the first Friday we were back from Christmas, we did our first semester perfect attendance. Over 10% of our children got to participate with no tardies and no absences. And they get to have a paper-wide snowball fight with hot chocolate and cookies, and I always look forward to that. So.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks.
Thank you.
Can I just say, I went a few years ago to your Christmas Around the World. Is this right? Is that what it was called? Where you did all Christmas in all different countries?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. I'm probably not describing it correctly, and it was fantastic. So I know that night that you were here and were describing it, I wanted to speak up, but I didn't do it, but I wanted to let you know I attended one of those, and it was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Higgs. Ms. Jones, Greenville.
All right.
I just wanted to give a spotlight to our Junior Beta Club. On January 9th, we inducted 54 students into our Junior Beta Club. Fourth and fifth graders. Miss April Howe and Miss April Calso are our Beta sponsors, and they did an outstanding job. We appreciated Miss Penny Roberts was our guest speaker that evening, and she did excellent. But the kids really took the spotlight that evening. And they've already finalized their first community service project. They led the whole school in doing a food drive for the Hope to All Food Bank. They donated a total of 1,500 pounds of food. So very excited about that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you.
Mr. Hardison from Longest.
Thank you, Mr. Davis and board members. Do want to recognize you guys for Board Appreciation Month, and you have a small token of our appreciation from Longest.
Thank you so much. So nice.
Want to brag on our staff and our kids. January is a month where we do a round of safety drills in all of our schools, and I'm sometimes a little leery at the elementary level. I don't want to scare the kids, and so sometimes I've caught myself being a little bit protective in some of the drills. So as our leadership and the district team has talked, we talked about in the time of emergency, it's not always going to be at 9 o'clock that we do all of our, I always did my drills on, and it could be at any moment during the day, and we need to be prepared. So we've talked to our staff over and over, and our leadership team has talked too, and we've done some things a little bit out of the ordinary in the last little bit. So the last week we did our lockdown drill. It's kind of scary, but you know what? We prepared the kids. The teachers did an outstanding job talking to the kids and talking about how important it was. We did a lockdown drill during one of the classrooms' recess. They were indoor recess with cold temperatures. And we also did a little trickery where, in a bad situation, a bad person may try to do something to pull kids out of the building to hurt them. So we pulled the fire alarm during a lockdown drill just to see how they'd handle that. It was amazing. Best lockdown drill we've ever done, and they handled it perfectly. Teachers did a great job preparing the kids. We didn't have kids running around everywhere. I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of leery of, we planned it out, but the kids did a great job. So just really impressed with the teachers preparing the kids and the kids performing during that pressure. So I had a whole grade level of fifth graders inside a concession stand in our gymnasium lobby. They didn't make a sound, but they were ready to get out of there once I cleared the door. But I do want to brag on our teachers. I think we heard from the other schools that our teachers have been doing a lot of work after school, doing the PLC work, looking at our curriculum, making sure our instruction is as rigorous as it needs to be, and just really proud of them for the extra effort they put in and just trying to create a best learning situation for our kids. Is Jimmy here tonight? Got to give a shout out to Jimmy. Came down over the weekend with cold temperatures a couple weekends ago. We had a water valve break and we were losing water left and right. And so tried to get it shut off myself. I couldn't find any tools myself. I called Jimmy, called Mr. Davis. Jimmy came from home and came down and fixed it, took care of us. So really appreciate that. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardison. I want to interject just a minute as well. I was like Brent a little bit. You try to do the drills without scaring, especially elementary kids, so you kind of do them at a convenient time. As principals meetings, we've been talking a little bit more, especially with some of the things going on. Let's do them at some inconvenient times and learn from it. If it doesn't go so well, then at least we'll know. So I've kind of challenged them, and they're stepping up. They're doing maybe during lunch or something, and it's tough because it messes your day up and things go wrong. But I think that's something we need to do. So I commend you for that, and I think others are doing a lot of that as well. I believe we have Leanne Sherrod here from South Elementary tonight.
First off, I would like to personally thank Mr. Davis and Mr. DeVar for having his
I saw that.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is a pleasure. Thank you all for having us. You sometimes don't see us, but what we have become very distinguished and proficient this week at sleigh riding, and so our skills are very good. We don't have any broken bones so far that we know of, but we'll come see Miss Rader if we do in the emergency room. At our school, our beta students made a product donation right before Christmas break that was great to the Hope to All Food Bank. Also, this coming week, we'll be making a monetary donation that was collected by students to our Hope to All. The reason we decided to do Hope to All is because that directly affects our community and our kids at our school. So we thought that that was a good place to donate funds. Also, Mr. Wells, Ms. Johnson, and I have met with all of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students about goal setting with K-Prep assessments coming up and also things that they're goal setting within their classroom. We thought it was a good idea to just sit down and interview each student. And so that's going really well. We also fed hot chocolate to the entire school to the tune of 20 gallons of hot chocolate, and the community members, we've had community members come in and donate more money because they enjoyed that. They heard it through the grapevine that we've done that. So we've got 2 more rounds of hot chocolate that'll be happening within the school at some point. Christmas, we served 75 families to the tune of 180 students for Make a Better Christmas. So a shout out to our Friskies and everybody that's in control of that. 55 food baskets were delivered through the holidays, thanking churches and businesses and individuals. And also we'd like to thank Ms. Dukes and the bus drivers and also the teachers. Before the cold spell, we contacted them to see where our needs were, getting out to kids that are in rough shapes. They just don't have the heat. They don't have the food, and they don't have the needs. When we're off like this, it's serious for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rager, North Middle.
Board members, I do want to thank you for all you do for the teachers, staff, and the kids in the district. I do want to invite you, and I know I've invited you before, for lunch. Our lunch times is 11:30 to 1. Mr. Lyle does a better job of inviting you all than I do, and I apologize for that. But please feel free to stop by for lunch. I also want to invite you to, we're having some upcoming mother and daughter and father-son nights on February 12th at 5:30. We're going to have a mother-daughter paint party. And actually I have Miss Kentucky coming. Molly Matney is going to come, and she's going to talk with the girls and the moms and actually do like a Valentine's Day decoration with the kids. And then on the 15th, we're going to do father-son night. Jim Johnson from Taekwondo, and he's going to have members, and they're going to come and do a self-defense class with the fathers and sons that night. Also, our archery team continues to be very successful. Academic team. Last academic meet at West Hopkins, we had 2 place first, 2 place second, quick recall, 1. Also, I want to commend my custodians for the work that they've done. They don't ask for very many things, but right before Christmas, they asked me for snow shovels.
Oh.
And that's what they wanted. And I was like, well, go to Malone Lumber Company and buy the snow shovels. And they told me, when I came in yesterday, we've been using those snow shovels and it made a difference. So I'm really proud of them for that. They and also during our last bus evacuations, we provided coffee and donuts for the bus drivers, and so to recognize them. And so like I said, they really appreciated that. And even let Kim have some coffee and donuts too. So anyway, so a lot of good things going on, and I do want to thank you for all that you all do for us.
Thank you, Mr. Rager.
Thank you, Mr. Rager. Mr. Lyle, you can say it or sing it.
Yeah, I've done all the singing. First of all, next Thursday, hopefully you have it on your calendar, is our Thank You Thursday for our board members, central office leadership, and our tech guys here in the district. So that's at 11:45 next Thursday. And come on and we'll supply you lunch and have an opportunity to hang out and talk with some of our kiddos. On January the 4th, the North-South boys basketball game took place. And unfortunately, we were on the losing end of both games, but the 8th grade game was a great game. I bring that up to say that there is a bright future for our Mustangs program coming up, because there is a lot of talent from really when you hit the freshman, 8th grade, and the North 7th grade is extremely good. A lot of talent is coming up, so great things are coming our way for Mustang basketball. And just like Jerry, I'd like to give a shout out, and Mr. Davis mentioned this as well, to our maintenance department, our custodians. You can't thank them enough for, especially this week, but any week, for all the work they do. They're always there, always willing to help out anywhere that they can. So we appreciate them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyle.
Thank you, Mr. Lyle. I think Mr. Carver, Ken Carver's here from the high school.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Board members, start off recognizing a couple of our female students at the high school. Reagan Blackburn, senior member of the basketball team. She is our new leading scorer, all-time leading scorer at the high school. That's boys and girls programs combined. So shout out to her. And also Miss Courtney Peebler, she's a sophomore at East Campus. She outstanding, very talented young lady. I don't know, you may have seen her some of the plays, and she sings national anthems. Amazing, amazing talent. Good kid in the classroom as well. She was our Rotary Student of the Month. We had 16 students that have made it to the next round for GSB, so we're excited about that. Hopefully all 16 of those will be accepted. Excited about finally having a fully staffed Martin Hall with the additions of Mr. Teague and Mr. Mooneyham. Welcome them on board. And then something new that we started this year at the high school is an incentive program for our students, student rewards, and had a lot of help with Mr. Lyle, Mr. Lloyd from South Middle, kind of got some ideas from them, and kind of adapted it and try to make it a little bit more applicable to the high school age students. But really what kind of drove this initially was looking at our attendance, trying to find ways to improve our attendance. But we also wanted to tie in the students' grades and their behavior. So those are the three criteria that we look at for students to qualify for rewards: grades, behavior, and attendance. To meet the reward member status, for grades, they cannot have any deficiencies on their 9 weeks report card. They have to have all A's, B's, or C's, no D's or F's. For behavior, they can't have any discipline referrals, nothing that's noted in Infinite Campus. No write-ups. And as far as attendance goes, no unexcused absences for the 9 weeks grading period. No unexcused absences or tardies to school. We allow them to have one tardy to class, but no more than that. And then they cannot have any more than 2 total days of absences, and that even includes excused days. So we're really trying to put an emphasis on how important it is to be at school. Hopefully that translates into that college and career readiness aspect when they graduate. Out of all of that, we asked the students before we did this, what were some of the things that they would like to see as far as rewards. So what we came up with, and what they helped us come up with, was that they all get a t-shirt that says Mustang Reward Member. First Kentucky Bank helped sponsor that for us, so we're very appreciative of them. They get a t-shirt. They wanted some free time in the gym, free time on their phones. We have a pretty strict cell phone policy, so they love to be on their phones, so we allow them to listen to music, be on their phones during that time, talk to, just kind of socialize. Basketball and dodgeball, something about throwing things at your peers. High school kids love dodgeball. So we're going to do a dodgeball tournament coming up. And then there's a food component to it. Last time they got popcorn and drinks. This time they're going to get pizza and drinks. And then probably the thing they look forward to the most, they get to have a little fun with an administrator. Last time I got a couple pies in the face. This time, Mr. Phipps and I, if there's enough that we can gather up, they're going to duct tape us to the wall. I don't know if that's possible. I've heard Mr. Yes, I'll take more than what Ms. Jones did, but they're going to do that. But it's something that the kids have really kind of bought into. We didn't really know how it would go over at first with the high school. The students are a little bit more mature. They think this is going to work. But when we post those lists of kids on the trophy cases to see, who met rewards criteria, they're looking. And if they're not on there, I've got to be prepared. They keep me on my toes because they ask me, why am I not on the list? So I've got to tell them, well, maybe it was a cell phone violation. Maybe it was a 1 point away in a class, from making a C. Maybe it was one unexcused, absence. So the kids are interested. And setting this criteria, we didn't know how many kids would be able to meet it because we felt like they were pretty stiff. But through just the first semester at East Campus, we've had over half of the student body meet the reward criteria, and then at West Campus, right at half. So we're hoping to get more kids as we go through the second semester. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carver. Mr. Watkins, Marathon Center?
I have Miss Melton.
Miss Melton, I apologize, Miss
I'm
Melton.
not an assistant principal, but he asked me to come and speak, and I appreciate that opportunity. Once again, we'd like to just thank the maintenance department. Danny and Todd do such a great job, the custodians in our building, to keep us prepared and comfortable, and our rooms in great shape, and we just couldn't brag on them enough. Something else I'm very thankful for is we've received over $4,000 in the Cedar grant. That is a huge bonus for our budget. Our kids are very successful with the Cedar grants. We actually took a field trip there last year. It's the first time they'd ever gotten to do that. And they learned so much, and we actually had the top winner in the entire region. So he brought home about $600, and I expect great things again from that this year. And our most important thing we'd like to speak about is our students. Many of them have started to transition back into their home schools, and they've transitioned back very successfully, which is the whole point of that. So we're so proud of them for what they accomplished while they were with us, but not just that, but what they will accomplish now that they're back at their home schools. I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Melton. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. And next we're down to personnel actions. Ms. Browning, who gave me laryngitis a few weeks ago.
It was not intentional.
I'm blaming her because she's the only person I knew that had laryngitis.
Then I go see her and she has it,
Yeah,
so probably is
I
my
blamed her.
fault. But I just want to take a minute and say thank you for your service to our district and to our students before we get started. And at least this time I did not have to face a bunch of beautiful little children that came before me. I just faced assistant principals and principals, which I guess you guys are beautiful too. So, but anyway, I'll just give you the personnel actions for the period of December the 5th through January the 10th. In certified personnel employment, we had 2 actions. Reassignment of certified personnel, there were 3. Classified personnel employment, we had 10 actions. Resignation of classified personnel, there were 5. And reassignment of classified personnel, there were 10.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, go down to Mr. Freeman with the attendance.
Got any attendance?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Our 5th month was scheduled to end Tuesday the 16th, so that's sort of been postponed. So we do have 2 days left in our 5th month, but this shares a couple of numbers. This is from December the 7th until the 11th of January. We're at 93.26, which is down almost 3/4 of a point from last year. I do want to share with you, because we had a little flu bug going around and things, but from the 7th of December to the 15th, we were at almost 95%, which was about 1.5 points, where we a little over a point from last year. So I was pretty excited. We're going to have a really good month, and then we get back from Christmas and the flu bug hit, and so from the 2nd until the 11th, we were at 91.92. So that's dropped us down to that. I will say this, we were only down below 91 one day. So with the snow, it's possible that it could have saved off some of the flu because nearby Ohio County, they had one school with 60% one day. Of course, they called off for 2 days. So that's where we stand. Hopefully, we can get a day or so in that would get it up to close the gap a little bit. Our attendance, and this was as of last Thursday, the 11th, we were at 4,631, and that's down just 8 from last month. So we're running, last 3 months, we're staying pretty level, which is good. But I'll have a little bit of a breakdown next board meeting of the 5th month, school enrollments, and the normal report. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, non-traditional instructional days. Are we looking at considering that? I know we've mentioned it in meetings, but there's a deadline that comes up, right? If we wanted to
I
do
believe it's in May.
May,
Yeah, but
right.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the word.
Okay. Well, between flu and I see where the other districts are using their non-traditional instructional days.
Yeah,
so.
you've got about, last I looked, you've got about 70 districts that are using those. So just waiting to see what y'all, next step. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are down to the board action items. We're going to consider the school calendar for 18-19.
Thank you, Chairman Raker. At the last board meeting was the information that I provided for you. I think Sherry has sent you a couple of copies, different versions of the calendar that the school calendar committee put together. They met 3 times. The calendar follows all the guidelines demanded by the state. There's a 185-day calendar. We do have 170 days of instructional days, 4 PD days. There's 5 work days for staff, opening and closing, which is equivalent to the 185. Nothing has changed. You see the opening day of school is, for kids, would be the 8th of August. Last day for students would be May the 20th. Biggest thing, as I mentioned last time, fall break is what everybody wants. Everybody. There's not one person that we've talked to that doesn't. That's the thing they ask. I get several calls and emails regarding that, and all I can do is say, look, this is the date that we're projecting as far as proposing to the board. Pretty much the same schedule as this past year. The only difference is this year, because we did not have an election year in November, we will have an election day November the 6th, and we placed a professional development day in there the Monday, so it's a sort of a 2-day break over the weekend. So everything else is pretty much the same. We do have 3 makeup days potentially in December before the break. Again, that's just something gets crazy next year with weather, but they are available there. Like I said, it's very similar to the one we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years. Any questions? I will say this, and Ms. Wells is with us, we really looked hard at going 171 and cutting back a work day next year and placing in a student instructional day. That's a possibility that we would look at next year, but that was really thought of a lot, just as adding one more day for kids, but dropping one of the work days down from the staff. So.
All right. Is there any questions regarding the consideration of the school calendar? And if not, I'll need a motion to approve. A motion by Mr. Johar and a second by Mr. Bowers. All in favor of approving the school calendar for 18 and 19, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And next is to consider the regular monthly meeting dates and times for the 2018 calendar year for KRS 61.820.
Thank you, Chairman Rager. Board members, you have that sheet there, and I believe this time, I want to thank Sherry for helping with this. I think we've avoided, meetings or work sessions that may have fallen on Martin Luther King or fall break, spring break, or whatever. So you have obviously all the work sessions would be here, and you see the schedule there for the regular board meetings.
Does anybody have any objections to the dates, times, locations of the board meetings for 2018? Okay, Okay, if not, I need a motion to approve the meeting dates. Motion by Mr. Johar, and I'll second. All in favor of considering the regular monthly meeting dates and times for the 2018 calendar year, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Consider amending the 2017-18 school calendar. Mr. Freeman, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This one's a little bit more complicated, so I know I think Sherry has given you the third revised copy for this, but we're, again, Mr. Davis and I have had a lot of fun with this one. But again, what I'm asking you to do, we had lost instructional days going back to August the 21st. That was the solar eclipse. So that was a non-instructional day. It was originally an instructional day in our calendar. We have missed January the 12th and then the 16th through the 19th. Those were due to the snow and inclement weather. So basically what you're looking at is so far 6 days of non-instructional days that are instructional days we've lost for kids. So what I would recommend to you is that we want to do the makeup student instructional days. We were going to make one January 26th. That was scheduled as a staff work day. February the 16th, that was a staff work day as well. February the 19th, which was President's Day, that was going to be a professional development day. And then March 12th, that was a staff work day. So all those days, those 4 days would now be turned into student instructional days. So it's going to help. Another thing is that the professional day that was originally scheduled for the February 19th, we can use that tomorrow, or Friday, the January the 19th. This would replace professional day scheduled for the 19th of February. I've contacted Mr. Davis wanted me to contact every principal. I've contacted every principal. They had nothing scheduled on that day as far as professional development. In other words, at that time, usually in February, most of the teachers, the professional development plans have been utilized, have been implemented. Again, teachers are required 24 hours. There's just there's not a school that has that day being used for PD. Most of the teachers, probably 95% of the teachers, are going to have their PD by now. If not, they'll need 3 hours somewhere. So he asked me to contact them. The principals are fine with this. And so what we could do is we could make tomorrow a professional development day, and that would
one more day.
That would cut us 1 day. That would give us 5 days that we'd have to make up for kids. Those 4 that I just mentioned, that would take care of it. So what we would do is we would add 1 day at a later time once we get the weather through us. We could add it to the end of the year. And then the 3 staff work days, we would add those at a later date as the end of the year. The reason I don't want to give those a specific date is they could change if we get more snow. But we can lock these 4 of these instructional days in, and we plus game. That's why we wanted to do a work day. We pushed really hard because we could have made today a PD day and then a work day tomorrow, and that way we would have only lost 3 days. As far as the snow, even though we missed 6, it's only been 3 as far as student instructional days. So that's what I recommend to you, is that we use those 4 days as student instructional days, and then make tomorrow a professional development day, and then we'll see what happens with the weather, and we can at a later date. They usually like to wait 1st of April into March before we set those 3 dates in for the staff work days, and then see where we are at the end of that one student instructional day. As of right now, it would be the 23rd of May, which would be on a Wednesday, which is unusual because the 22nd, that is a staff work day we have, and the reason we have that is that's an election day, and with the election we can't have, schools cannot be in session because we have so many schools that's the polling location. So I know that's a lot of information, but that's the I think that's a pretty good setup as of right now. All right, well, we don't have to make up 6 days. We just have to we'll have to come up with one down the road if y'all approve this. Okay?
Okay, I need a motion to consider amending the 17-18 school calendar. And this is approving that January the 19th tomorrow, right? It says the 19th on the sheet though. 18. A professional development day, and then January 26th, February 16th, and February 19th, and March 12th, student instructional days.
That's correct.
Right? Am I reading this correct?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
There's too many names. Alrighty. And I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of amending the 2017-18 school calendar, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to consider needs assessment for the 18-19 school year.
Thank you, Chairman Rager, and I do want to say before we get into that, Mr. Freeman, out of all of our conversations, that's by far the clearest it came out.
Well, that's not saying a lot.
I'm telling you, it was worse. We have tried to get it worded right. He has worked tirelessly to work that out, and we were hoping, and that's last minute, because we were really hoping to have a work day tomorrow, and it just wasn't comfortable with it. You know, it's a tough call, but so that's where we are. But anyway, that's well said as it's going to get. The needs assessment, I do want to recommend that we give each school $4,000. Last year it was $3,000. Would like to up that to $4,000 per school, and that's including the 10 there, that $40,000. That includes East Campus, West Campus, and Renaissance Center, which has not been involved in that before, and they have needs as well. So there's some specific needs in there that they've submitted, some more doable than others, and we'll look those over individually, but we also want to always give them some money to use as they see fit. So that's my recommendation.
Are there any questions? And the total for this is $40,000
Yes.
for all schools, $4,000 each school.
The high school gets 8,000.
Yes, each campus will get $4,000. Yes, ma'am.
I need a motion to consider the needs assessment for the 18-19 school year, which will be $4,000 per school.
I make a motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Wells, second by, I think, Mr. Johar. All in favor of approving the needs assessment, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. Moving on, consider emergency certification for preschool IECE position, Ms. Browning.
It was determined that this position was needed due to enrollment in our preschool programs at the elementary schools. We originally posted this position in November 2017. After the interview process, an applicant was selected for the position. This applicant has an elementary education certification. If the district does submit an application for full-time emergency certification, this teacher will be eligible for this position. This teacher was deemed a qualified applicant and met what the school was looking for. The prerequisites for this approval of this certification are outlined in the statutes and regulations of the state. Emergency certification is good for 1 year, and in this case, it would be good for the remainder of the school year. This will give our district time to actively recruit a fully certified teacher for this position for the 18-19 school year if enrollment stays as is and that is deemed necessary for next year. Or it would allow this teacher to obtain full certification at this time. So what I'm asking for is approval of that emergency certification.
Are there any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve emergency certification for this preschool position. Motion by Mr. Johar.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering the emergency certification for the preschool IECE position, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're down to considering an offer of assistance for annual debt service from the School Facilities Construction Commission. Mr. Watson, I said that without messing up.
Good job. Say it 7 times.
No.
Thank you again, Sharon Rager. What this is this is an offer for basically bond, the state will, the SFCC will pay our bond payment. We get this offer every 2 years. The last 2 offers that we have received have been escrowed, so we're kind of saving that up. What we're asking is that this will be for fiscal year 19, and what we plan to do is use this in escrow in conjunction with the committed funds that I'll go over with in the draft budget. So it's basically free money from the state. So
What are we gonna use it for?
we're hoping to use it to offset some expenses for like the HVAC needs that we have for the schools. And it's about $1.3 million minus, closing costs sort of things for some of the issuance of bonds.
Are there any questions? Okay, if not, I need a motion to consider the offer of assistance for debt service from the SFCC.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Bowers.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of considering the offer of assistance for the SFCC, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And next, consider SFCC fiscal year 2018 KETS first and second offers of assistance.
Thank you again. We received a call from the SFCC when I originally called to talk to them about this previous offer that we approved. I asked them regarding our technology offers of assistance, and the state had not received their information yet in order to provide those. By now, we'd actually be voting on our second offer of assistance because you would have already done that earlier this year. However, since that was delayed, they called me back and said, well, we just got the offer today. And so they said, well, they need time to draft the letters and go out. So what we did is we decided that we would request that you accept this offer. It's going to be about $16 per ADA. I estimate that to be about $69,712. We'll need to match that. And once we receive our letter, I'll distribute that to you as well. Unfortunately, they told me that they would have it out this week, but I'm sure the snow has delayed them as well. Once we get that it'll be put on the books, and we'll have to match that, and that will also go to fund Mr. Wells and his department. And I'm sorry, they combined both the first and second offers into this one. So.
Okay, are there any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
A motion by Mr. Johar, and I'll second. All in favor of considering the SFCC fiscal year 2018 first and second offers of assistance, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And we're down to considering the draft budget for the 2018-19 school year. Mr. Butler.
Thank you again. This will be the fiscal year 2019 draft budget. As you know, the process in budgeting for the state is there's a draft budget, which is the basic framework. And that really focuses on the general fund. We don't have Fund 2 information yet. And then Fund 3 and 310, 360, and the debt service funds that are also in there, we just roll this current year information over. So really we're going to be focusing on the general fund. So that draft budget, then tentative budget is May 31st. That's the one where we do refining and start putting more line items in. And then there's also then we finalize it with the working budget, and that's what gets passed in September. So, as a review, I'm just going to go over the budget considerations that we have when creating this. I want to review the revenues that we receive, and I'm going to review the expenses. Budget considerations. We always want to look at long-term sustainability, revenue increases over time, pension reform expense increases. We're watching that very closely. Mr. Davis and I we talk frequently regarding that, so just to make sure that we're, watching things and budgeting accordingly. And then also our maintenance issues, as you know, you saw this building, so we've got issues that we need to correct over the course of time, so those are, many of those are not cheap, so we do budget those. So in terms of revenue line item changes, what we've done is we're going to, per the plan, the property tax, I will seek to ask for the 4% in the fall when we go to do that. I decreased SEEK by 1.72%. That reflects a 2% enrollment drop. That's kind of going along with the trend that we've had over the last few years. I'm hoping that it's less, but as long as it stays in line with this, based on all the models that I've been able to build, it's stayed right within this line, and I still feel comfortable with where our finances are. I also increased our on behalf amounts that directly proportionate to the salary amounts that we have. Those are non-cash item. That's just payments that are made by the state on behalf of the employees. So as I was explaining to someone else the other day, was that basically if you have an insurance premium that's $500, $100 may come out of your paycheck, but $400 is paid by the state. We need to put that on our books. So I never receive $400. I never expense $400. So it's in the revenue. For bookkeeping purposes strictly. So general fund revenues. The revenues, including the beginning balance, are about $59.588 million. Local revenue, which includes the TVA funds, is about $15.288 million. Beginning balance about $16 million. SEEK, that's about $19.2 million. That's a decrease of about $337,000. On behalf are the $8.4 million. Medicaid revenue, I kept it at $200,000. We're trending a little bit behind. I've had several discussions with Ms. Penley about it. There are some factors that are affecting how we're the slight decrease this year, but I think actually next year we should be able to pick up again. So we have some new people that aren't allowed to bill, but after they get the first year under their belt, they're allowed to bill. So I budgeted $200,000 for that. Miscellaneous revenue, about $237,500. Miscellaneous revenue consists of really the grant things that we have. Those can be Felix Martin grant type things, in-kind donations, those sorts of things. Really, we don't have a really good predictor except just what did we have last year. So expense line item changes for this year. I allocated funds for security cameras for South Middle and East Campus. Last year we did 2 other schools. We're kind of going on a 2-school cycle in order to ensure that we aren't putting the same technology in every school. Which Mr. Perkins educated me on. I would have thought we would have just dumped in, $150,000, put cameras in all schools, but this allows us to keep up with the technology. So I think it's brilliant.
How much? It just says allocated funds.
It's about $50,000, $25,000 per school.
Per school?
Yes, ma'am.
So $25,000 per school?
Yes, ma'am. I budgeted $200,000 to vehicles and transportation. I had $210,000 budgeted last year, but both the vehicles, well, we actually, we got the 3 at this point.
You're hoping for another deal come through?
I'm hoping for another deal. That'd be wonderful. It's not likely, but should it come, we do have amounts budgeted. Again, if we still have enough for 2, and that's really over budgeting a little bit by maybe $10,000, if that. I reduced and I reallocated funds in any line items where I noticed there wasn't much activity or we had over budgeted or things like that. I tried to move things accordingly so we could kind of tighten the budget up a little bit more. There are some areas where I've added just some buffer room in them just to make sure that, because some of these items where prices could fluctuate greatly, such as fuel. Those are things where if it comes in and we have something where, we have a great hurricane again and we're paying far more per gallon, well, we can sustain that. So the general fund expenditures, I'm not going to go over every single line item in this because you have them in front of you, but really the big chunks of them are instruction, and really I want to point out contingency is that it's actually just a touch less than last year what I budgeted for contingency. It's about $72,000 decrease. We're running at about 80%, a little over 80% in terms of salaries. That's on the budget summary that I provided you, and that's general fund. So that's not including Fund 2 or anything like that. When you add Fund 2, it drops it a little bit. So we're right in line with other districts. We're actually performing better than most districts in the state in terms of our salary expense, and I feel really comfortable with that kind of thing. And so again, this is building the framework. We'll further refine everything when it comes to the tentative budget, and I think we'll do well with that. The last thing I want to go over with you is committed funds. That's something we discussed previously when Mr. White was here, our auditor. What we'd like to do is we want to take some of that contingency, that $13 million contingency, and actually commit those funds for certain projects that we have going on. So for instance, the HVAC systems. It's an estimation of about $5 million per campus. We're actually going to meet with Harshaw Train next month. Jimmy, Mr. Davis, Ms. Browning, and I are going to talk with them and really try to hone down, kind of pin them down a little bit more on, work with us on pricing and that kind of thing. What's it going to be if, just hypothetically, if they can do both, what kind of discount can we get, or what's it going to cost if we have to do it one at a time? And that's something we're trying to put down. So right now, we have $2.29 million in those SFCC funds that we just approved. So actually I'm going to up that when it comes time for tentative budget. So really we can commit less in general fund dollars, which could be allocated in some other maintenance need that we may have. So then we also have HVAC systems for South Middle. That's something that Jimmy Fleming discussed a few months ago. And then also we have a retirement commitment, and this is it's a short-term liability type thing. A lot of districts, in my discussions with my peers, they do budget for this. They put restricted funds in there. It's a short-term liability. Some of them actually budget all their long-term liabilities in that. It's about 50-50 on that. What I did want to talk to you about is the process on this, because what we have to do is it's going to appear on the balance sheet. Okay, so that's a different thing that you'll receive. The board must approve those committed funds. So when it comes time to doing the tentative budget, the first thing I'm going to ask for you have an agenda item A that says we're asking to commit these funds, and then agenda item B was when we go into the tentative budget. So I'll basically have two budgets prepared. So one if you say yes, one if you say no. At that point, once you approve it, I'll move funds from our beginning balance and contingency, so they'll balance out. I'll take money from a revenue and money from expense, the exact amount, and I'll put them on our balance sheet as a liability. And so that way it'll be on the books as saying, okay, these funds are committed. I've taken it out of beginning balance and I've taken it out of the contingency. So I'll be more than happy to go over that more thoroughly with all of you in the future. They are coded to specific areas. So in terms of like construction items, I'll code them to one code. Pension liabilities, I'll code to another code. That way it's separated out and you can see where it is. So, if it's $5.5 million that I have to do for construction, I'll code that to that. And then the $600,000 or $650,000, I'll code that to another line. Does that make sense? So,
and let me jump in just a second, as I understand it. We'll commit these, but let's say something happens outside, something that we need that money, but it's committed. Well, we can uncommit those funds as well. It would be a board action item as well. We can get back into that if we have to. And the retirement commitment, that's basically a worst-case scenario if the pension situation is really bad, and this is basically what we would owe in sick days if everybody who's eligible to retire says we're going. That's why we're committing that.
So,
How long does it stay committed? I mean, how long is there a limit?
no, it's as long as you want it to be.
But if it's not used, we can use for something
If
else.
it's not used, it does take board action. So, it's not something where I can go into Mr. Davis' office and say, hey, we need $2 million to do this. Okay, he can't say, let's do it. No, it's got to be something that's put on the board item, on a board action item, and it must be taken out in order to repurpose those funds.
TVA, how's it looking? What in lieu of?
The discussion that Mr. Davis and I had, they expect us to kind of hover around where we've been.
Okay, last year it was
6.659, I believe.
6.6 million, and we budgeted for 6.4.
I did, and really a lot of that has to do with sales, and that's where if it was a mild winter last year. So really, it's not the current year. We're not getting paid off of the sales that are even in this year. It's the previous year.
Okay.
So we had a milder winter in those times. So sales, they estimate sales may be down. So until they give me that that's where I feel comfortable with it. I'd rather under project on that one and get and honestly, when I put the 6.4 million in all my models, it comes well. I apologize. One of the other expense line items that I did budget for that Mr. Davis and I discussed is that I did increase salary expense by 2%. So, and that's we're looking at that until pension reform goes through. And so once we know that's where we're looking at that, and then that will be presented.
And we're on a decrease enrollment?
We are, but honestly, our net position changed so much last year in the positive that we are, I can say with pretty decent confidence that we're one of the best financially positioned districts in the state. And so the reason why I say that is that we can afford to do this. All my models that I've built, looking out 6-7 years, say that salary increase is sustainable, even with the CERS expense
Increase of $700,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And the other thing that I have looked at, just the reason why we're being a little more reserved right now is that we don't know what the governor's plan is for SEEK. So, but really, this is something that I firmly believe that we can shoulder, and that's what we recommend. And that'll be in the salary schedule.
But even being firm in your numbers, why would you want to tax the people again? You're saying, hey, let's take a tax, and we're going to increase pay. I mean, it just let's be conservative. I understand that you're sharing with us that, we can do this, but everything's going up. If something changes with this transportation, which I'm of the opinion we as a board need to go back to 2 high schools. If it's going to affect transportation, this budget that is rolled out, then more importantly, we don't need to be busing kiddos. We need to be 2 campuses and then north-south like it was previous. And that's how I feel. There's no way that you can say it's cost-effective to still bus when transportation might be on the chopping block with the Commonwealth budget. We don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to increase the CERS $700,000. You're going to tax the people and turn around and give a raise. Oh my gosh, that just looks terrible.
I understand that, and I guess what I'll say to that is I understand completely.
Thank you.
What you're saying. However, previously there had been 2 tax increases since 1950.
I understand.
That was in 1994.
I understand, but we get the TVA funds. We budgeted for $5 million that first year, and we ended up getting 6.4. I mean, there was something that was more every year. We tend to get more than what we budget, so that's a blessing. I understand, So, but overall, you can't ask the people. I mean, we have so many folks that are senior citizens that are on fixed incomes, and they don't get a discount on their property tax.
They get a homesteader's expense. They do exemption when you get to a certain age for the first. I believe it's. I don't know the exact number, so I won't quote that. But for the
65.
65. For 65,000
I just don't know
value of the
that.
house.
I mean,
What this is that over the course of time, we still, as a community, look, I don't like paying any more taxes than I have to either. But as a community, over the course of time, if you're not doing a tax increase, and really, my model that I built had it once every other year for 6 years. That's 3. That's only 3 increases,
but
and then I
saying
stopped.
we're going to tax and we're going to increase pay by 2%, and we're going to do all these things. And to be honest, I'm fine with custodians and bus drivers and teachers getting a pay increase. But I think we have a lot of administrative people that get paid a lot of money. And I saw where Spencer County 2 years ago, I shared this with you, they carved out, they gave teachers and all their classified staff the raise, and they explained that to principals, because of all their stipends and everything else that they receive, that it was important to give to the teachers and the custodians, and or the classified staff. But that's a lot. That's a lot to ask the people to turn right around and be taxed and give a pay raise and everything.
Well, 4% for us translates to about a little over $200,000 increase in revenue.
Okay.
Okay,
so you know those numbers. I still don't know that it justifies turning right around and giving a 2% pay increase. Is that on the line item?
I can take. I mean,
I'm just saying, school admin support, is that the 2,400 I was going to ask? Because it's increased by the next year's budget, the 1.9 million. Is that right? It's on page 7. It says school admin support, so I don't know if that's where you're talking about when you're budgeting. Based on current year, it says 1.8.
School admin support is like principals and those folks.
Okay, so then also, what, 2,300 is district admin, or everything is increased, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
For all of instruction?
Instruction are the teachers.
That's fine. I'm just saying, I think it's a lot to ask for increase in tax, and you turn right around, you're saying, okay, we're going to increase in tax, and we're also going to increase pay, which several years ago it was, we needed to be conservative. We needed to make sure that we reduced. So it's a very mixed message. And I'll be honest, we got some work to do in some of these schools. Student achievement needs to be priority.
And my concern is long-term sustainability. So,
Well, that looks confusing for long-term sustainability to say, okay, we're going to increase pay, but we're going to, take a tax.
Well, here's my take.
It would still be more than 200,000 to increase the 2%, correct?
that's correct, but we also increased net position by about $4 million last year, so we do have that ability to provide that.
And there will be opportunity when the salary schedule comes up. That'll be a separate item. We can talk about it then. There'll be a separate item whenever we request the 4%. I'm in a cohort with about 25 other superintendents. They're all first-year folks, just like me, trying to figure it out. They think we're crazy for not taking 4% every year, pretty much every, and many go well above and beyond it. They take a nickel tax, which is a totally different one that we don't touch. So and many have the utility tax. So there are a lot of others that we don't, because I agree with you. It's something that we need to be we pay taxes as well. So it affects us as well. So when it comes time, we'll talk through that a little bit more, and I respect your opinion, and I understand that. The 2% raise, our folks took a huge cut. That matters. Just let me finish my part here. That's real. And principals as well. I respect our administrators. I respect the job they're doing. I respect bus drivers. I respect teachers. And what I'll ask for, and ultimately it'll be your decision, but I will ask for, we're projecting now 2%. I don't know what's going to happen the next 2 weeks. So that could change where we come back. We had to put something in there. So that's the number we put in. But obviously, all I can do is make a recommendation, but I don't want to differentiate, as Governor Bevin does, between administration and teachers. And we're on this together. And administrators do make more money, and they have a lot of responsibility. And I don't want to blow that off. I respect them. I know what it's like. I know the calls at home. I know the extra pressure. I know it even more now, but I understand and respect them. So that I feel strongly that it would be whatever I recommend will certainly be across the board. I understand everything you're asking, and they're reasonable questions, and Eric and I have had all those discussions. It's not like I'm saying, oh, that makes no sense. I get it. So this is not anything that you're sitting in stone with this budget, because the salary schedule will be a separate thing, and we can have a separate discussion at that time. The 4% increase, if we ask for that, ultimately your decision. That's a separate thing. So we're not locking into that tonight. I've asked him to be as transparent as possible. I want everybody to know what we're thinking. We may even be wrong. There's difference of opinion. I understand that. But that's where we're coming from. We're a unique district in many ways, because we're one of the only districts that I'm aware of that's taken the massive pay cut over the last 2 or 3 years. It is my goal to get us back to where we were. And having said that, the 2% gets us close. In my mind, I don't want to promise, I don't want to say anything I shouldn't say here and have people locking me in, but that could go either way a little bit, depending on my recommendation, I should say. Can go either way depending on what happens in the next 2 weeks. So that's as open and honest as I can be. That's my thoughts. I respect yours, and that'll be all that'll be a board decision. But understand that tonight, when we pass this budget, you're not locking into any of that. We're projecting, we're trying to be as open and honest as we can with everybody.
Does this report to the state?
No.
The draft does not?
The draft does not.
Okay, so we can handle the transportation differences based on what was mentioned the other night, potentially. We could handle that, plus the increase $700,000 of CTRS. All those things that the governor mentioned.
They're all very much concerned. Can we handle it? We think we can, yes. There are concerns with the HVAC units. We've been over all that. That's why we're trying to commit some funds, set those aside. Again, let the folks know what we're thinking. And then we're going to look at what's left, not just, because, all right, worst case scenario, west and east. And east, we had a lot of trouble with our heating over these last few weeks. Worst case scenario, that happens, we're looking, all right, if that happens, are we still okay to do this? So I'm not trying to send a mixed message. I'm proud of our folks. I'm proud of the job they do. I want the community proud of them as well. We love our community. I want us to be close. So we're not trying to say, hey, community, do something that's not right. I think they deserve it. I think we need it. I think the job they do is admirable. I think the job they do is as essential as anything in the state. Okay, so I want them to be compensated. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm not ashamed of that. I'll pay more taxes to help these folks do what they're doing. That's how I feel. I feel strongly. I'm passionate about it because they help the kids. Our kids deserve our best. I want us to be competitive with surrounding counties instead of losing people driving to Davis County because we can't pay to equal that. I want them here. I want to bring folks home. And I'm sorry to say, but it's true. Salary makes a difference in the job you have. I would suspect that's that way with everybody. So I want to be more competitive there. I want to get back to where we were a few years ago. And that's not like that's a huge race when you're back where you were 3 or 4 years ago. I think they're worthy of that, and I think every single person in our system is worthy of that, not just this group or that group, and let's call this one and that one. That's not the culture I want in this county. We're in it together for our kids. And I hope that that's illustrated every night when they get up and they talk and they say what they say. So that's my take. Ultimately, all I can do is make a recommendation and smile, and whatever y'all decide, I'm going to smile and pretend I like it.
Well, I agree with
So it's not mentioned on your PowerPoint to increase the.
And I apologize. I built it in and I did not think of that line item.
You always mess up, man.
Yeah, I do.
We're working on it.
Well, you just mentioned you want to be really transparent, and I'm like, well, it's not on there. So it makes a difference.
Which is why I went back and said, I apologize. I forgot to add that in.
It's huge.
So that's why I did
because you don't get it till you're in the board meeting that this is his plan. So
I wasn't being secretive, and I apologize.
I just want to say, since being on the board, I've always had a high respect for teachers and principals, but when you see really what goes on behind the scenes and all the after hours and all the involvement that teachers put into their kids that most people don't have a clue about. They're a special group of people, so.
They should go in the morning, early in the mornings and snow days and coldest days and seeing principals and assistant principals receiving your kids, opening your door and saying thank you with a smile and freezing their butts off. That's a time for bonus.
Yeah, drive around after school's out and see.
Fast food workers in Louisville are making $11.25 now. I hope that don't come in until.
The occasional bonus is when a parent drops off hot chocolate and it doesn't happen.
They get that every year, I know.
And I want to thank Mr. Bletzinger. I had some questions on the budget. I emailed him probably 9 o'clock at night and had answers back by 10. So
Thank you for doing that ahead of time.
So,
That's appreciated.
I really appreciate that.
All right, so any further questions or comments on the draft budget? Will you go back and add that about the salaries on your presentation? So we'll have that. Liquor, thank you. I need a motion to approve the draft budget for the 2018-19 school year.
So moved.
Make a motion by Mr. Bowers and a second by Mr. Johar. Right, okay. All in favor of considering the draft budget for the 18-19 school year, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed by Ms. Lavelle.
Just wasn't transparent.
Disagree.
Sneaky.
Do you guys feel that we're sneaky in any way? Because I don't want
I
to.
believe I read somewhere about the 2% in some of the paperwork we got. I can't tell you right where it was, but I think I knew
But
that.
on the PowerPoint, if this is attached to the budget, I just think if we're on a decreased enrollment, Mr. Freeman didn't share with us the numbers. I mean, and the enrollment for the month, if we're down.
We don't base decisions on 1 month either.
Well, that's okay. The prediction is what, 2%? Isn't that from last year, 1 to 2% over the next so many years, 5 years?
It's close to a study that we had.
Last year? So if it's consistent, then there's less students to be in the classrooms. That affects your seat, that affects.
I mean, like I said, you know, it's not, we're not finalizing and voting on what's actually gonna happen. It's just a preconceived budget that we think these numbers are gonna.
But I don't agree with all of that and then to increase. I mean,
but we're not voting on that right now.
Is it not? Is that, we voted yes or no?
We're not voting on a salary.
I got you, but it has to show, it has to reflect on the draft.
Correct, but we're not taking
The
action
draft
on
is
anything
changeable
changing.
at any
Right.
time. Yeah.
But
Salary schedule will be
what he
totally
presented
separate.
was with all that already included, like we had said yes. So that's why I said no.
No, it was
Because-
draft. That draft is never approved.
We just voted on it.
That's for a draft reason. We can change. That's what we discussed before.
But all
It
his
could be changed.
numbers in
I
the
know.
draft are based on the pay increase. Is this correct, Mr. Bletzinger?
They are, and Bletzinger is my name.
So they're all in that. So that's what I'm saying is that's why I said no, because I don't necessarily think that you should put the cart before the horse.
I mean, when it comes time to vote on
We
salary
did that
schedule, you know,
to
we'll.
try to be transparent,
Right.
because we could have easily not put anything in, but we're kind of letting you know what we're thinking now, although it obviously could change.
But I guess in order
over the
to
last
create an accurate
couple of weeks.
budget, I have to put what may possibly happen.
Right.
And so in order to prepare for an expense that may happen, I need to put that in the budget. Should it not occur, it's far easier to reduce an amount than it is to increase an amount in terms of expenses. All my numbers that I have budgeted are very conservative. And when I build those numbers into my models that I have, from which decisions that I recommend to Mr. Davis and all of you, they have those conservative numbers in there. Should they come in higher, we're actually in a better financial position than we would have been.
Did you make any changes based on the potential of the increase in the CTRS, the 700,000 that you mentioned in your report?
Yes, I budgeted
And then,
All of the benefit line items have the 28.1%.
and any potential transportation changes that we now are hearing about?
Well, I did not change those because you get the budget, 10 days prior.
Okay.
That's something we learned yesterday. So,
As we said, we're hoping that's a worst case scenario that doesn't happen, but by the next board meeting, we'll know.
All right, thank you. We're down to the board consent agenda items. Consider leave of absence request, and every year we have to approve the non-resident contracts, approve nutrition and physical activity report, fundraising requests, and field trip requests. And all of these are things we do, I think, every January.
The non-resident, is there any Christian County?
No. Christian County has a situation where they want to pick and choose which kids they send, and we don't do that. We don't pick and choose. That's
Ever? I mean,
no. What they want to do is, if we have a kid that wants to go there, if we have an agreement with them, they get to go there if they accept them, which they would. If we have one that was living in Christian that was wanting to come here, they have to approve of it.
Okay.
That's part of their contract, and they started it about 3 years ago. And everybody else we have an agreement with that if they want to come and live in say they live in Muhlenberg and they want to go to Logan, we don't, that's their choice. And the same thing, Logan does not prevent one from coming to our district, whereas with Christian, they put stipulations on it, and that's not, and the stipulations favor them, not us. So
That's why you got them out of the list.
Yeah.
Is there any questions in any of the information included in the consent agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
A motion by Ms. Wells, and I'll second. All in favor of approving the board consent agenda items, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. And I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Johar. Second by Ms. Wells. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I hear none. We're adjourned.